I think Mormonism broke my brain's ability to make money. How about that? I fear that the only gear that my brain knows how to lock in on is the kids, and that's it. And that is the whole development of what my brain was made for. That the mindset that it takes to make money, I fear I just don't have it. I fear that it cripples me. I fear that my brain only works in locked into kids mode, and that's all it thought that it was ever going to do in its development. Just lock into God, follow him, do what he says, and then you'll be blessed. And we follow these rules that have been laid out, do all the things, get blessings. And then when you leave the church, as I have, and you don't believe in that God anymore, as I do not, but the other gear, that just doesn't go away. And you still want your kids to thrive. But then if they're not thriving and there's no God, then it's just me to blame. And it's like, great. Are ex-Mormons happier? Yeah, great. Control my shoulders. Yay. But it's like, I fear there's not a rehab for Mormon parents who are only programmed to make money and raise children with priesthood holding men. Because now we're raising kids in a world that's actually a whole lot scarier, because now we see all of this shit. And like before, I was floating downstream with all the other Utah moms. I was raising my kids surrounded by all these other Mormon moms that all shared the same values. And we literally thought that God told us to be self-sufficient and also have as many babies as we can on food stamps while voting for politicians who would cut our food stamps. And also gay people shouldn't get married. Downstream. Now I have to go against the current of my culture's values, which I'm going to do. I'm locked in, right? But now it's like being hyper vigilant to not let my kids make friends with people who make sexist and racist remarks, which I'm going to do. I have to work upstream. I'm going to do that. But like teaching consent to my kids as I raise them in Utah culture, if I had to sum up my experience as an ex-Mormon and ex-conservative mom in one sentence in Utah, it would be, don't talk to me about my kids' screen addiction and the new concentration camp before I've had my coffee. But like, hey, we'll put that on tank tops or whatever. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there. If there's any former Mormon trad wives out there who are like divorced or whatever have you in your situation, how do I get this brain with this conditioning to now make money when we were not really prone to thinking about that from what they told us priesthood holders are like, so anyway. So I'm really touched by how many, especially women, reached out after the last video that I posted. And I had some comments from men who were like, this is a word salad. And then other people, especially women, are like, I feel this deeply in my soul. So why does it resonate with some people when I'm talking about my struggles of like being an ex-Mormon, ex-trad wife life? Fortunately, another commenter did get it, tagging me in Britt Hartley's brilliant viral video, and I'm like, bingo. So Britt highlights this fascinating 2015 study by cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman. Don't roll your eyes because I said study. It is evolutionarily what you want to do to roll your eyes, but you need to resist because this is insane. Hoffman found that surprisingly, organisms that perceive reality more accurately actually have a lower chance of survival than those who embrace beneficial delusions. That's why we say, go look at this study. And all the people who want to embrace, we're in a bad mood after researching the state of what our brains are fucked up to do. You know what I mean? That evolution actually favors organisms that see the world through comforting, survival-focused delusions rather than stark, harsh truths. That essentially our brains evolved not for truth-seeking, but for truth-avoiding to ensure that we remained comfortably deluded enough to survive and reproduce. You know what it's like to tell yourself a comforting lie so you don't have to worry about anything more? Inject that stuff right into our brains. That's evolutionary opiates for us, right? The research argues that facing too much unfiltered reality can literally be lethal, causing this existential burnout, which reduces reproduction rates and pushes a species towards extinction. Exhibit A, I feel like I'm going extinct. I see reality too unfiltered, and I'm far less horny. Now, how does all of this relate to my rant about ex-Mormon trad wives and our struggles? In the traditional wife movement, there's this narrative that fulfillment is inherently found within these rigid roles of homemaking and childcare, and this complete, utter devotion to being domestic, also known as domesticated. And it's a story that's just so powerful and just attractive that women like me, out of our own free will and choice, enthusiastically embraced it. And of course, I'm kidding. It was brainwashed into us by a patriarchal cult that told us that it was this or hell from childhood. But never fear, they meant well. They were doing what evolutionary psychologists have found. That there is now science backing up why these religious myths that we buy into show up everywhere. They are just the precise type of comforting illusions. They offer simplicity, they offer rules and purpose, and provide this emotional stability that our species longs after when we need buffers from the chaos and complexity of what the F is going on right now. So what I'm trying to relate is that my lived experience in this domesticated brain, the Mormon religion was my comforting evolutionary delusion. Made up a shorthand for you. Delusion. What do you dilute? If you have something that is concentrated, you add more water to it to dilute it. A delusion is taking something that is too intense and complex and diluting it so it's watered down. Oh my gosh, I thought that I was never going to see my grandma again. Could we just water down this reality for a second? Oh, I will see her again? Whew, all right. It was too strong to drink before, but now I can guzzle that shit up. Just pay 10% of your income. You follow where I'm going? The Mormon religion was my comforting delusion. Then Britt goes on to say that the real thing going on underneath the delusion, leaving the church that's no longer attended. When you leave that, out goes a lot of the other things that we don't intend, which risk encouraging this horrifying perpetual nihilism. And so you rip out traditional gender roles with, bonding narratives and religious beliefs. And what does that mean? What's that mean? You are just in for the ride of your life. You will be grappling with stuff weeded out of the gene pool you were never meant to see, our species was never meant to see or know. Britt argues that secular people like myself win on the intellectual race, but when we're communally poor, we're never really going to feel like we're getting any trophies, but we got to keep going. We still have to share and create emotional buffers. I think memeing is great for that because evolution doesn't want us here. It wants us to be cultists that just see delusion, but we can adapt. I think we can adapt to our realism by employing something like a nuanced realism. Check the brand. When all of the struggles are seen and validated, but it's not the whole story, and there's still compassion, there is other parts of the story, there's purpose from our values that are rooted there by evolution too. There's other things to draw on. So I'm living this life that I don't think evolution wanted to happen because it's exhausting. Without adapting, it's honestly supposed to go extinct. But if I know that, if I have the knowledge of it now, I can call it out for what it is and adapt and put in the work that it takes to build a life with a brain that's excited to keep going and never give up.